Well, that gets back into how powerful is the current regime, and are there internal issues that it faces. I mean, Chinese economic growth is slowing. They still have a problem of the rural China, which still sees hundreds of millions of people living in poverty. Mm-hmm. You've got a restive consumer class in China. We have billionaires which have been operating with a free hand, and now they're beginning to get reined in by the by the Politburo. I mean, are there and then there's also the fact they feel they need to use this facial recognition surveillance state system, and I also have social credits that which they're really using to try to maintain the whip hand on its people.
The security side is really intimidating. I mean, they have, for example, they have 300,000 internet policemen operating in Beijing alone. That's a lot of people monitoring the internet. And as you say, these facial recognition advances they've made, it means that they can take photographs of people in any part of the country and tell who they are, where they've been, what their background is, and so on. And the pushback that Xi Jinping experiences is becoming quite noticeable. He's had a slowdown in the economy. The export sector is frustrated and not to say angry. The growth rate is which had been around 6.5%. Some people believe, for example, Michael Pettis, professor at the University of Peking, is saying, look, these numbers are a fantasy. The growth rate is right around 2%. And the pressure that imposes on Chinese consumers and producers is very strong.
Well, and I think you pointed out that when they gather these statistics, if you're shipping them in from a province and you ship it in and you say, well, we didn't do so well this quarter, that's not well received.
We better jack it up.
So there's a lot of pressure to get those numbers looking good.
Internal security is I think the Chinese government's major concern.
Yeah.
And they're going to be having problem with what's often referred to as the grand bargain. And that grand bargain is that the Chinese Communist Party is, since it doesn't have real elections, is sort of politically illegitimate. But the people of China, let them get away with that if the party provides for their economic welfare and gradually is increasing the economy, their standard of living, and so on.
Commonweal.
But that's not happening anymore. There are now some very obvious haves in China and a whole lot of very unhappy have-nots.
And the gap is growing.
Yeah, and so it's both economical, but it also has to do with human rights. So it's important for the United States to keep talking about, at least, what the Chinese are doing to limit the human rights of their own populace, because it's very popular with the people on the outs of China, the non-communist party members.